Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Loop City. We are five guys who love hoops, entertainment, and culture. We're continuing our NBA season previews. I'm Pete Toal. Joining me are DJ GonzoStar and Coach Matt. We're going to preview the Atlantic Division, and we're going to get right into things with the Boston Celtics. Matt, let everybody know what they did last season.
51-31 overall last year, second in the East, obviously second overall too, losing in the NBA Finals to the Golden State Warriors. Points per game, 111.8, 12 of 30. Opposing points, 104.5, tops in the NBA. 96.6 in pace, which is 24 out of 30. Offensive rating, 7th of 30 at 114.4. Defensive rating, 106.9, good enough for second. And obviously, we know Ime Udoka has been suspended this season. We're going to leave all the speculation that's to the side. And the new coach this year will be Joe Mazzulla. And they made a couple of additions: Brogdon, Gallo, who's out with the ACL, and then you have Blake Griffin, who has just been signed to a 1-year, I believe, fully guaranteed, right, Pete?
Yeah, fully guaranteed deal. He's going to basically play the backup center role for them, which will be interesting to see if he could still give them something, since he's no longer above the rim, Blake Griffin. He's more of the spot up 3-point shooting Blake Griffin. So we'll see how that goes. But Gonzo, I want to go to you. Obviously, Matt mentioned it. Joe Mazzulla is the new coach. Ime Udoka has been suspended. We are not going to dive into the Udoka, all the speculation, because nothing is actually confirmed. It's all just speculative. But I want to know from you, how much impact losing Ime Udoka will that factor into the Celtics season this year?
I guess it depends on how mature the players are. If the players haven't matured since the finals last year, this could potentially be a problem that could spill out onto the court because you lose your leader, who's your head coach. But if they're mature and they understand that, hey, we still got to get this job done without the coach, we're going to need to follow the lead of Joe Mazzulla, and we're going to rally behind him and give our all on the court. They could potentially be back in the NBA Finals again this at the end of the season.
I'm going to be honest. I have questions because of how they struggled last year at the beginning, and they had Udoka. Obviously, they have a little bit more experience with Brogdon now, but I feel like with all the turmoil, losing Robert Williams for a good portion of the beginning of the season, Matt, that takes me to my next question for you. Mm-hmm. Losing Robert Williams for a portion of the beginning of the season and gaining Malcolm Brogdon, how do you kind of see things shaking out as far as lineups go, chemistry, things like that? Like, are they going to start slow, or do you think they'll pick it right back up to where they were last year?
Offensively, I actually think they'll be just fine. I actually think they're better offensively. They finally got a guy who can really run the team in the half court, and I'm a big believer in Marcus Smart as a point guard. I know most aren't, but Malcolm Brogdon is clearly an upgrade as a half court, facilitator over Marcus Smart. Now Marcus Smart can go back to more of the 3-and-D, even if Brogdon comes off the bench. We'll see how they do it. I'm guessing he probably will to start. Brogdon will come off the bench.
Mm-hmm.
But at the big man position, obviously now Al Horford is going to be your starting center, and we know he's still good. He's serviceable. He's still going to play defense, make threes. Can he hold? If he can really hold it down for a couple months, I think they'll be fine. And then the problem kind of now is off the bench defensively at that big man position. You lost Daniel Tice, who's decent defensively off the bench, can make an open three. You get Blake Griffin, who can make an open three, but Pete's favorite word, he's a turnstile on the defensive end. And that's going to cause problems.
I actually think they might go unconventional and start Luke Cornett because he can stretch the floor. That doesn't mean that he plays major minutes. Just starting games before they switch to a smaller ball lineup and shift Horford over to center and go with like Tatum, smaller They could start Cornette because his ability to space the floor. You then have off the bench, if you wanted to, you could go Peyton Pritchard at point guard. You could go Brogdon at the 3, really, in a smaller lineup, and have Derek White at the 2, or any combination you really wanted of lineups. So they have versatility now to be able to change things up. Greg, going back to you, X factor for that team. Who do you think will be able to let's put it out there, not Malcolm Brogdon. If you had to pick somebody else that could be an X factor that you think could step up and really help this Celtics team, who do you think it would be?
X factor. I'm gonna have to say Robert Williams. And I know he's a defensive guy. But one thing Robert Williams, I think he has to do, and I think that he should do it. Like I say, he has to, but I think he should do. He can get you 10 rebounds. I believe he could. But I want him to give 15 points with that 10 rebounds. I need him to get a little more scoring. It's a few things I think that, and it's hard to not say Malcolm Brogdon due to the fact that I think that one of the deficiencies is when things got tough for Tatum and got tough for Brown, Marcus Smart can't hit a lot of big shots, and he's not a great shooter. He's a great defensive guy. He's an okay three-point shooter. I wouldn't even say okay. He's one of those things. He's like dice roll shooting, with him. Malcolm Brogdon is a much better three-point shooter. He's not as good a defender, but he is a good defender. He can get you 20 if need be, but he can become a facilitator. And I think that's what they missed the most. That's the only reason why I say I would have to say Brogdon, because he can be a facilitator where Marcus Smart can't be. But Robert,
do you have anybody different that you think might be able to be an X factor?
There's actually a couple of guys who I know he was kind of their X factor last year, but Marcus Smart. I think he's still going to be that main X factor to them. But two other guys I think can really step in and be X factors. If he gets minutes, I think Peyton Pritchard can do some things for them. But also Derek White.
Yeah, Derek White was mine. Just the versatility of on and off the ball. If he can knock down the 3, he was working with Will Hardy last year. Mm-hmm. Will Hardy obviously is now the coach of Utah. So they had to replace him. And so it'll be interesting to see if he's been able to kind of improve over the summer with that 3-point shooting. If he can get that, he'll be solid.
Yeah, because he guards. So he does all the things that you want guys and that they want their guards to be able to do. He can handle it in the pick and roll. Those would be my 3 guys though.
All right, last question on the Celtics. I got it for both of you guys. Gonzo, I'm going to you. How can the Celtics win the East?
Now, this is a good question. The only way they can win the East this year is if Philadelphia stars get injured, or Brooklyn stars get injured, or the Bucks has Giannis of Middleton out. It's the only way. I don't think they'll be a top 3 if those 3 teams are healthy. And the way it's looking, when it all comes down to it and it gets to the end, it's gonna be between Boston. It's gonna be between Philly, Brooklyn, and Milwaukee. Those are gonna be the 3 teams to look at.
Okay, Matt, same question for you. How can they win the East?
Simple. Do what they did last year. Defense. The offense, I think, is going to be fine, even a little better. It's going to be defensively. They were number 1 in opponents' points, number 2 overall with the defensive rating. But we know after the All-Star break, they were hands down the best defensive team in the league. They were the best team in the league, period, after the All-Star break, until, of course, they run into that juggernaut, the Golden State Warriors.
Yeah. I'm going to go individual on mine, since you guys both covered some great points. I'm going to go Jason Tatum has to be more of a facilitator in tight moments, because we saw when he facilitated instead of forcing shots how well they did. They were able to open up large gaps on teams. And then Jaylen Brown consistently has to find an outside shot to help him whenever teams are kind of closing the lanes, things like that, whether he can get a pull up or just finding a way to get open on the perimeter. I think with the addition of Brogdon as another ball handler will help both of them open up areas in their game that were deficient last year. And so those are kind of my things for them. But I'm with Gonzo. I don't see them winning the East personally, but stranger things have happened throughout the NBA. But let's move on to our next team, near and dear to my heart, the Philadelphia 76ers. Matt, what did they do last year?
All right, so we have 51-31, fourth in the East. Points per game, 109.9, 18th of 30. Opponents' points, 107.3, 9 of 30. Offensive rating, 113.5, which was 12 of 30. Defensive rating, 110.8, 12 out of 30. So pretty good defensively and offensively. Their pace was 96.2, which was 25th in the league. But, when you have a guy like Embiid, your pace is probably going to be in those numbers. So they've added this offseason, though, which I think some PJ Tucker, and I think the sleepy addition they made was DeAnthony Melton, very good player. Add Danuel House, Montrezl Harrell, and Trevlin Queen. They basically basically every one of these guys were Daryl Morey guys in Houston at some point. I love it. I love it.
Houston Rockets all over again.
Yeah, and not to forget, they're coached by Pete's favorite coach, Doc Rivers.
Yeah. We'll see what happens with Doc. I'll get to that in a few minutes. All right. Up first, Gonzo, I'm going to you. Do we get the old James Harden of Houston, or do we get the strip club, fat, out of shape James Harden that, maybe he's lost some weight, but he still doesn't have the desire to be a superstar? Which one do we get?
I think we get the old James Harden. One thing, to lose weight and he looks really, 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 really well. He looks lean. It looks like his speed has come back to him. He has a big man who's a superstar. I think we might see a different type of James Harden, a much more mature James Harden. And we have to give him some credit. I mean, to come back and get yourself in shape and put in that type of work and dedication, it kind of shows me just from the start. I'm just on the outside looking in that he's getting into the mindset of let's win and let's try to get a championship. And I applaud him for that.
Okay. I do have to admire the dedication to the weight loss. I just worry about once you get into the season in your day-to-day is the strip clubs going to come back into play, and just the nightlife, not getting as much sleep, because sleep does play a big part in losing weight and stuff like that, along with a good diet and all that stuff. But I think hopefully he's motivated enough to see what last season did as far as his reputation. So hopefully I can improve that. Matt, can Joel Embiid win the MVP this year?
Absolutely. He's finished second the last 2 years. I mean, and I have not seen the odds, but I'm going to guess Joel Embiid is probably still a top 3 favorite. I wouldn't be shocked if I know Luka is the favorite. That's the one I do know. But yeah, he absolutely can win MVP. Finished second 2 years in a row, and I'd argue he should have won it last year.
Yeah, you definitely could argue. Yeah, he's number 2 in the voting odds right now.
Luka's 1, right?
Luka's 1, Embiid is 2, Giannis is 3, Durant is 4, Jokic is 5, Tatum is 6, and Curry is 7.
That's about right. That makes all those guys make sense in those numbers. I mean, all team success is important too. But yeah, he can absolutely win the MVP. I can make the argument, and I would have voted for Embiid last year for MVP.
Yeah, I mean, I was back and forth on it because a lot of people slandered Jokic, but I felt like he had a little bit less help. So I kind of gave him the edge, even though I wanted to give it to Embiid. But I want to stay with you for this next question, then we're going to go back to Gonzo for the last one. So Tobias Harris is going to have to slide down to small forward. Obviously, he's shown in his career he's a better power forward. Obviously, it's to make room for PJ Tucker at power forward. Is that going to work with the combination of Tucker and Harris to kind of go in the lineup?
Honestly, I don't think it really matters. PJ Tucker is going to guard of the two guys that they would guard. PJ Tucker is going to take the tougher cover. He's going to sit in the corner and make threes. Harris is still going to be able to play his game on the way he plays on both ends. I don't really think it's going to matter. I like the PJ. I think that's an upgrade for them in that position.
Okay.
You know, he's
Fair
there
enough.
to guard the Durants, to guard the Tatums and the guys like
Right.
that. Which do you want Tobias Harris guarding those guys?
I don't. I just worry that the age of PJ Tucker is going to
That's
eventually
fair.
catch up.
Yes.
As far as injuries, little nagging injuries here and there. And then if you start having to plug in like a Daniel House, you got to throw in Korkmaz in some minutes. You got to play Thibault some minutes. Like that's when I start getting worried for the offensive side of things. Defensively for Korkmaz, offensively for Thibault, like that all makes me get a little worried about stuff.
If
but
Thibault can hit 35% from three, you're good with him then, right?
if he can hit that. That's a big if. You've seen him shoot just like I have.
But you know what? To get PJ Tucker rest, if you're playing a matchup, so like they're playing the Grizzlies, who on that team is PJ Tucker really going to defend? You know what I mean? Give him the night off or play him just some spot, start him and play him the first 5 minutes of each half. Let him rest.
Yeah,
because he's really there for he's there for the big matchups, the Durants, the Jimmy Butlers, those guys, the Tatums, the Jaylen Browns.
And
that's
more
what
importantly,
he's there for.
More importantly for the playoffs.
Yes. And he can space the floor.
Yeah, that brings me to the last question. Gonzo, this is for you. What do they need? What do the Sixers need to do to win the East?
The number one thing is to stay healthy. That is number one. You keep your body in shape. Try to avoid nagging injuries. Get plenty of rest. It's going to be a long season. And everybody else around you, you have to keep in mind that everybody around you is getting better. But also, I wanted to add to a point just a minute ago about Tobias Harris. Wouldn't it be nice if he could play a lick of defense? Like,
yeah, in a perfect world.
In a perfect world, if he played just a iota of defense, I'm penciling Philly is easily to the finals because I don't think we have. If James Harden is James Harden of old, and Embiid is MVP caliber Embiid, I think you got a team that's in the East that's unbeatable.
So, Gons, what you're basically saying, as long as Tobias can be a slightly less than average defender, you're good with it.
I'm good with that. Absolutely. Tyrese Maxey's emerging. Look at what they have. Look at what they have. You got Matisse Thybulle, 3-and-D guy, and he's not even a great three-point shooter. If you can get 35%, that makes it even better. You got Korkmaz. You got Tobias Harris. Tyrese Maxey is turning into a star in this league. Mm-hmm. James Harden is still, even though it was a down season, James Harden's number wasn't bad for a person. Anybody else's season would consider that a great season. But because he's MVP.
And Gons and Pete, he's not. Embiid even said it. He's not Houston James Harden anymore. He doesn't have to be that guy. He doesn't have to do everything.
No, because you got an MVP caliber superstar center who's probably one of the most unguardable big men in the league. He can shoot. He can shoot the three. He can go down in the post. He plays defense. It's not much he can't do. This is something that James, and I've said this in the past about James Harden. I said one of the reasons why he always lost in the playoffs because look what he had in the West. You get you get Dwight Howard, who was suffering from a back injury, so he didn't have a big man. You get Clint Capella. You can't even compare to Joel Embiid. Now he's pretty much been given the ultimate gift to possibly get him an NBA championship and cement his name in NBA history. You got a go-to guy now. All of this doesn't have to fall on you anymore. This should take, and also James Harden being there, it takes a lot of weight off Embiid getting hurt. It takes a lot of weight off himself getting hurt and worn down late in the season because you have a go-to guy and you have good guys around you. You got, like I said, Tyrese Maxey. You got Tobias Harris. You're getting PJ Tucker. You got Matisse Thybulle. You have guys.
And they've got three other guys off that bench who can start for you. DeAnthony Melton can play both guard positions. Montrezl Harrell can spell Embiid. If Embiid wants a night off, you can throw Harrell out there. Daniel House can start on the wing if you need him to for a game to give
and
Tobias a game off.
Daniel Tice has size. You know,
You mean Daniel House?
House.
Daniel House.
Daniel House. You talking about that came from the Rockets, right?
Yeah, he was with the
Yeah.
He was with Utah, right? Was it Utah last year?
Yeah,
The
Utah
Rockets,
last year.
yeah.
The wing,
But he was
not
with
the
the
big.
Rockets. Yeah.
You said who?
Daniel House, yeah, he was with Utah, but he was with the Rockets most of his career. Yeah.
You talking like the 6'7" guy, right?
Yeah. I saw him play in high school. He went to Hightower.
Yeah, I mean, so he has decent size, you know. So,
Right.
Man, Philly. The only nag I have against Philly is Doc Rivers going to do.
Doc Rivers is the only negative that you got.
That's the only thing I
Jesus
got.
Christ.
It ain't
That
the
is my
roster
number
anymore.
one flaw for the team. Is he going to make adjustments? Is he going to play these all bench lineups again? Are you going to basically sit there and cry to the media and start playing the blame game with your players and playing these little mind games and all that stuff? It's like, come on, dude. You get out coached by rookie coaches and you're living off a championship that you got carried basically by 3, basic Hall of Famers in Boston. Now you're going to get carried to a potential championship by Embiid, Harden, who are Hall of Famers, Maxey, who's an emerging star. Like, come on. Your job's easy as hell. Just stay out of the way. Let them play. Do a little bit of adjusting here and there that you need to. Not come out with the same tired formula that you always do. Hey, guys, let's go. We got to get in this game. We got to fight hard and all that stuff. Like, nobody wants to hear that shit. Just sit your ass on the sideline.
Pete's not
Stay
ready.
quiet.
Pete's done with the Doc Rivers bullshit for this year.
Like, there's no excuse this year. Like, he's fired. If they don't win the NBA championship, he's fired.
Jesus Christ.
Like, because I'm sorry. Like, with the team that they have, Middleton's hurt to begin the year. They already have an advantage on Milwaukee as far as coming out the gate. Milwaukee might, come back later, but they don't have the depth that Philly has. Brooklyn, hit or miss. We'll talk about them next. Like, Philly has every opportunity here to take that leap. Boston's not competing with Philly. Philly it's now or never. No excuse for Doc Rivers.
And then Doc Rivers will get fired. Thibodeau gets fired, and then Philadelphia will sign Thibodeau to come in and take over next year. The following year.
All the Philly memorabilia behind me will come down if Thibodeau is coach of the Sixers. I'm gonna have to go on a year hiatus or 3-4 year hiatus, whatever it is. Like, that's worse than Doc Rivers to me, because then you might as well just say Maxey's tearing his ACL for at some point, because he's going to play 42 minutes a game. Like, no. Don't wish that on me, on Matt. That on me, Matt.
I wanted to get the reaction. Sorry.
Oh, God. All right. Let's move on to Brooklyn. Matt, what did they do last season?
All right. 44-38. Obviously, was a very crazy season last year for the Brooklyn Nets with Kyrie and the vaccine thing. He can't play home games, and he could play home games. Kevin Durant missed. Well, I think he missed. Didn't even play 60 games last year. But still, points per game, 112.9, 9 of 30. Opponents' points, 112.1, 18 of 30. Pace was 99, 11th. Offensive rating, 113.6, which is good enough for 11th. Defensive rating, 112.8, good enough for 19th. Steve Nash is back as head coach, even though Durant made his ultimatum. And we don't have to get into all that offseason drama shit that happened. It's kumbaya again in Brooklyn for now. But they have added Royce O'Neal, outstanding pickup. I do like the TJ Warren pickup. You got Markieff Morris, Edmund Sumner, and Yuta Watanabe.
Yeah, if he makes the team. He's a questionable. We'll see. But I want to actually go back to Kyrie for my first question. Gonzo, I'm going to go to you because I want to go ahead and get this out of the way so we can move on with it. Is Kyrie going to be committed this year to this Brooklyn Nets team?
I think so. I think Kyrie's going to be committed. I think he kind of owes Kevin Durant, and especially the way he kind of acted last year, and he didn't show up. Kevin Durant didn't show up either in the playoffs. But Kyrie didn't show up either. I think he owes Kevin Durant for all the drama and all the stuff that's going on. If they're good friends, I'm gonna come out and say it. I think he's gonna be all in this year.
I just don't. I don't. It's Kyrie. Something's gonna happen. Some kind of, I don't want to say like activist type thing, but something is gonna happen.
He's gonna go on a sabbatical, is what you're saying.
Yes, something's gonna happen to where he's gonna take a little mental break, and then it's gonna be some excuse, and it's gonna throw the chemistry off, and then Steve Nash is gonna get blamed. I would not be shocked if they struggle as far as their expectations. Like, say they start the year like 16 and 12 or something like that. Like, I could see Steve Nash maybe getting let go and somebody coming in with more experience to kind of push them through. Kind of like some other teams have done in the past, like Miami. Pat Riley kind of pushed Stan Van Gundy out of the way once it was like, oh, we need a spark, and kind of changed things up, and conveniently he became the coach again. But Matt, I specifically saved this question for you because you are a fan of him. So
absolutely.
Ben Simmons, obviously the stigma has been, I know all too well, he's not a shooter. He had the, whatever you want to say, mental health plus the back injuries, all that stuff. Do we get a healthy and engaged Ben Simmons this year, and what are your expectations from him?
Engaged Ben Simmons, absolutely. I have no doubt he's going to be engaged, especially playing with an all-time great like Kevin Durant. I think, change of scenery is always a good thing for certain. Well, not always, but for some guys, it's just what's needed. The only thing that scares me with his health is the back, because backs are always a thing that you just don't know. I believe, what was it, a herniated disc or something like that? Those are always scary. Larry Johnson had it, and you just don't know. It could go either way for him. But he will be engaged if he's healthy. I think defensive player of the year, lock, hands down. He's the best defensive player in the league. He will win defensive player of the year. You're going to get the 15 points. You're going to get the 8+ assists, the 8+ rebounds. It's going to be a typical Ben Simmons year. But I do think he's going to shoot threes this year. I keep predicting it every year. I'm sticking to it. Ben Simmons will shoot threes. I didn't say he would make threes. I said he'll shoot threes. That's what we want, right, Pete? We want him to shoot threes.
I just want him to shoot mid-range. I don't even care about the threes. Just if you got to open mid-range, or if you're like coming off a screen or whatever, take it. Like, don't just hesitate and then pass it off. Like, same thing with a three. Like, at least take it. You don't have to make a lot, but the corner three should be there. Here and there for him. Mm-hmm. So I say take it.
And he's going to improve their defense this year.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's the one thing I don't have any doubt about.
And he's the best point of attack defender in the league, which is tremendously going to help that team. Yeah.
That takes me to you, Gonzo. So there's been speculation as far as the starting lineup. There's a combination. There's a couple different ways they can go with combinations. You could essentially start Ben Simmons at power forward next to Durant at small forward with Nicholas Claxton at center. Or you could go really small, put Simmons at center, Durant at the 4, and Joe Harris at the 3 next to Kyrie and Seth Curry. That kind of gives you a versatile lineup as well. If you were Steve Nash, what route would you go, knowing that Kyrie is going to be the point guard and Durant's going to be one of the forwards? What would you do with Ben Simmons and the rest of that lineup?
Honestly, I wouldn't have two guards like Kyrie Irving and Seth Curry in the lineup together anyway. I would much rather have like Seth Curry coming off the bench and plug Ben Simmons in at point, Kyrie Irving at shooting guard, Joe Harris, Kevin Durant at power forward, and Nick Claxton at center. I would start it off like that at first. Because one thing about Ben Simmons, he'll be able to get Nick Claxton the ball. Now, Nick Claxton, if you watched any of the Brooklyn Nets games last year, he got a lot of lobs. And I don't know if his hands are small, but he missed a lot of catches on lobs last year, easy putbacks, because he just couldn't grab the ball. So somebody should have had a lot more sense last year in the Brooklyn Nets, and they didn't get it because he just couldn't hold on to the ball. That's the number one thing. Joe Harris, I would definitely want him in the lineup as a 3-point threat. One thing about Kyrie Irving, he can shoot the three. Kevin Durant can shoot the three. But Ben Simmons can get all of those guys the ball. We got to have him as the point guard. We're not looking for him to shoot. We're looking for him to facilitate. And that's the problem that's one of the problems the Brooklyn Nets had when they had Harden, Kyrie, and Kevin Durant, which first of all, they all didn't play at the same time a lot anyway, but they all were so heavy into ISO. This is where they have to change. And I say this about all great players. At some point, everybody goes away from ISO ball. You have to learn how to do something else. And this is where you have to prove yourself more as you get older and more mature in the league. Meaning that it's not about ISO ball anymore. If you want to play a good team game of basketball, you kind of got to be like Coach Popovich teams. You got to learn how to play off the ball or something, learn how to catch and shoot away from always ISO balling. Because that's who's been hurting the Brooklyn Nets. This ISO ball, dribble. I'm gonna dribble out to the shot clock is down, and I'm gonna take a jumper. No, we need somebody to facilitate this to keep us in order. We have to follow suit to make the team better. It's not about me individually. Another problem I see the Brooklyn Nets is that they still haven't addressed, and that's rim protection. They still haven't addressed that issue. I know Ben Simmons is a great defender, but let's be real. He defended a great defender in the past, but he ain't stopping no Giannis. Not now.
Well, nobody is, and he's not a shot blocker either.
He's not a shot blocker. He's not stopping MBs, no James Harden. So him on that team ain't gonna be stopping. It's not gonna stop all these other teams because they're getting better. They need a rim protector, a real rim protector in the hole, a big guy. And I thought, me personally, that somebody like Nerlens Noel would have fit that role as a rim protector on his team. He's young, he's athletic, and he's a rim protector, something that they needed. They so-called wanted to go get a rim protector last year in Andre Drummond. And when they got Andre Drummond, I said, they're out in the first round. I said, watch. Mm-hmm. Look what happened. They got swept. Heads beating, heads bashed. I'm talking about embarrassing.
Hey, maybe Detroit knows this, and hey, you give us one of your young guys a future pick, you can have Nerlens Noel. I'm just saying, but starting lineup, Pete, I'm gonna go in a different route with a different guy than you named. What I think they could do to start. I like Ben Simmons at the 5, basically the point center. Kyrie at your point guard. Kyrie. I would go Royce O'Neal at the 2 to bring a guy who can defend, make open shots, and then at that 3, I'll go Joe Harris for the shooting. And he's not a horrible, he's a good team defensive player. He understands team defensive concepts. He came from Virginia, a big defense, so he understands that. He knows how to play team defense. Then obviously KD at the 4, we've seen him guard before. He can be a good team defensive player. And obviously Ben Simmons then at your 5, basically your point center. That's what I would go with, because with Curry and Kyrie, that's just 2 small guards. We saw what happened in the playoffs. Curry got his ass ate up by Boston. He's too small. Bring him off the bench. TJ Warren's another scorer you can bring off the bench. You have Marquise Morris. Nick Claxton can be your backup big man. And that's what I would do for now and see how it goes.
Yeah, Nash wants to play Markieff at the 5, which is going to be interesting to help stretch the floor.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we'll see. So just real quick, because I want to move on to Toronto. Realistically, I'm going to kind of change up from what we had in the on the doc. Can they win the East? Is my first part of the question. I'm going to ask both of you. Can they win the East? And if they don't win the East, where can you see them realistically finishing? Matt.
All right. Yeah, they can win the East. I think they could if everything bounces their right way, just breaks right for them. They're one of those teams that definitely could win the East. Kyrie playing 65 plus games, Kevin Durant playing 65 plus games, Ben Simmons no problems with the back, stuff like that all has to break right. Is TJ Warren going to be right? He hasn't played in 2 years basically, and I think those are the key things we have to look at. If those break right, I think they could win the East. They've got talent. It's not like they're a horrible team. And I should have said it in additions. I count Ben Simmons as an addition to this team. He hasn't played yet for them, so he really is an addition to the team. So I think they can win.
Okay. Greg, same question for you.
No, I don't see him realistically. I don't see him winning the East. No, I think it's just too many other teams that are getting way better. I said it before. I think that Philadelphia and Milwaukee are the top two teams to beat. And if Boston can hold it together with all the distractions that they have, if they can work through all that, those could easily be the top three teams. Brooklyn will probably fall at the fourth seed.
Yeah, I don't know that I could see Brooklyn probably being third. I don't know that they can win, barring injuries. I am questioning how long Middleton will actually be out, because if he's out for like a month and a half, 2 months, then I might have to knock Milwaukee down a little bit, because I don't think they have enough to sustain being a top team without Middleton. We saw what happened in the playoffs without Middleton, just kind of what they were. I don't trust, Budenholzer's adjusting, whatever. But let's go to our next team, which is the Toronto Raptors. Matt, what did they do last season?
Okay, last year they were 48-34. One of the big surprises of the NBA last year. Fifth place, points per game, 109.4, 20th out of 30. Opponents' points per game, 107.17. They were 96.0, which was 27th in pace. Offensive rating, 112.9, 14 of 30. Defensive rating, 110.5. Nick Nurse, one of the best coaches in the league. He's still there. They add Otto Porter Jr. I love it. Christian Coloco. They add Bo Cruz. Yes, Juancho Hernan Gomez, but Bo Cruz. DJ Wilson. Josh Jackson, who I actually think could be a decent player for them. So there you go with what Toronto's done. And I just want to put this out there. We'll probably touch on it, but I see it's question one, so I'll wait because I see it's going to be one of the questions. So I'll wait.
I'll let you chime in on the first question, but I'm going to go to Greg with it. Do we see another leap from Scotty Barnes this year?
Absolutely. And I'm not saying it's going to be much of a leap. I think he'll be probably 18-9, a few more points, a few more rebounds. He'll probably be around 47, 48% shooting. But in the end, Toronto is still one of those teams that only Jesus can save right now. It's really no hope for them. In this Eastern Conference now, no.
Wow. All right, Matt. So I know you're a Scotty Barnes guy.
Yes.
So tell me what do you think he has to do this year to improve? I'm going to change the question up a little bit.
I think he needs to be a little more aggressive as a scorer, slightly more aggressive. I understand why he wasn't last year. You got Pascal, you got Fred, and those guys there. So I get why he, rookie just. But I think he can. I mean, the guy is fantastic. I mean, he can basically, offensively, he can pretty much play all five positions. He's fantastic defensively. I just think he's going to be a fantastic player. I really like Scotty Barnes. And I know a lot of people were shocked when they took him fourth over Suggs. I was not shocked at all. Like that guy, Scotty just has the skill set. The tools are all there. And he wants to improve. You can see it. He's working out with all the top players in the offseason. This is a guy who wants to be great.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to stay with you. Give me an X factor for the team.
The X factor in this team, I believe, is going to be Precious Achiuwa.
Ooh, okay. I didn't expect that one.
Defensively with some shooting. I wanted to go, a guy like Fred, but Fred's already been an all-star, and I love Fred, and he's not an X. He's a great player. He's not an X factor, but I think it's going to be Precious Achiuwa.
Okay. See, I had Gary Trent Jr. He was already improving. Defensively. If he can get consistent and stay healthy on offense, I think he could be that X factor. Gonzo. So you've got Van Vliet and Siakam that were past All-Stars. Do you think that they have any chance of making the All-Star team this year?
No. It's over.
Damn.
You're just not high on Toronto. I'm surprised.
No.
Okay.
I mean, I think they were lucky last year due to the fact that, like I said, due to the fact that a lot of teams struggled early, like Boston struggled early. Middleton gets hurt, and I'm not saying they're just the absolute terrible team, but the team that they were last year, I don't think they'll be that team this year. I think the league has just gotten that much better. Even teams like Detroit have improved.
Yeah, true. All right, I'm going to stay with you for a second. So I know you're not high on them, but what do you think would have to happen for them to finish top 5 in the East?
Toronto Raptors?
Yes.
Man, all the teams in front of them have to have major injuries. That's the only way.
Wow. Okay.
Damn.
Way.
Okay.
Top 5? Look, just think of this for a minute. Philly, Milwaukee, Brooklyn, and Boston. We pretty much know that. I don't know what order they're going to be in 1 through 4, but those are going to be the top 4 in the East.
So then you're battling Cleveland, Atlanta, Miami.
There's no way.
Battle all them.
Yeah, Atlanta is not a huge jump, but it's still better than Toronto on paper. The Bulls, they made no improvement. They made no real improvement, but they're still the same team from last year. So Detroit got better. Washington, this year, Bradley Beal's back. If he stays healthy, they might be in the running for that. For one of those spots at the bottom. So it got harder for Toronto.
Okay. Matt, any chance?
Yeah, they got a chance to finish in the top 5. Absolutely. I don't think Brooklyn's guaranteed to finish top 5. It could go either way with them. I think, obviously we're assuming health is good for everybody, right? We have to do that.
Let's assume health.
Yeah, that's the fair way to do it. Boston, Milwaukee, and Philadelphia, you're probably looking at that top 3. 4, 5, and 6 comes down to probably Toronto, Cleveland, Brooklyn. So absolutely they could, and even Atlanta maybe could squeak into one of those spots. But yes, I absolutely think Toronto can finish top 5. And to the All-Star question, absolutely. I don't think Fred makes it again. As much as I love him, I don't think he will. Pascal Siakam, yes, he can make it again. I think the All-Star, if they're only going to get one, I think it's going to be Scotty Barnes this year.
Ooh,
I think he's going to be there. I think he's going to emerge as the best player on the team this year. Okay. Scotty Barnes is going to be their best player.
All right, now we're going to wrap up with our last team. We unfortunately have to segue from one of the best teams to one of the teams that everybody's just overhyping for one addition, and they have our favorite coach.
Yeah,
whatever. All right, the New York Knicks. Matt, let everybody know what they did last year.
Okay, last year 37-45. They were 11th in the East, which was a disappointment considering they finished 4th the year prior. So they were 106.5 in points per game, 26 of 30. Terrible. Opponents' points 106.6, 6 of 30. No surprise being a Thibodeau team. Pace 95.9, almost dead last. Only one team was worse. Offensive rating, 22nd, 110.4. Defensive rating, 11th at 110.5. Yes, Tom Thibodeau is still the coach. I am still a Thibodeau guy. I know most people hate him. They did add Jalen Brunson, and a nice little pickup was Isaiah Hartenstein. And it's not because I don't see this name on here anywhere. Yes, R.J. Barrett will be the best player on the team this year.
Okay. I wasn't going to get into the debate. I'm just not an RJ fan. I am a Duke fan. I just not sold on RJ as a pro. But Gonzo, want to go to you. Jalen Brunson at the point guard. He's their big addition. What are we going to get out of him?
I mean, he could possibly put up those same numbers in that he put up in Dallas. He probably put the same numbers up in New York. But here's the thing: he'll be doing it for a losing team this time. Like. RJ Barrett, who I am not hung up on at all. God, people love RJ Barrett. I'm not saying he's a bad NBA player, no. But if you're gonna build your franchise around this guy, well, be expected to make the playoffs every year. He's not taking you anywhere. You're still stuck with Julius Randle. You got Fournier, Richard Robinson is a pretty decent big man, but they didn't do enough to push themselves forward. I'm sorry, Knicks. You'll be sitting at home again this year.
Interesting. All right, Matt.
All right.
I know you've been trying to be positive about everything and all that stuff, but Julius Randle, I don't think anybody could be positive about last season and his performance.
No, he was awful.
Can he bounce back? And will he bounce back?
He can bounce back. I think he will bounce back, but let me provide everything here. He's not going to be the Julius Randle, the all-star Julius Randle. He's not going to bounce back to that. That was a contract year. The potential's there. We've seen him do it. I don't think he will, but I do think we're going to see a slight improvement from him. He won't be as piss poor as he was last year. And that's why I wanted to put the whole thing out there, because a bounce back from last season is not saying much. He was terrible last year. He was really bad.
Yeah. Unfortunately, like the pouting, for me, it was, all right, you have the on-court stuff, but then the off-the-court stuff was just even worse, because then it set the locker room divide and all that kind of stuff. But I'm going to stay with you for this next one, because I know you're more the young guys, and you get kind of hyped on them. All right, so we got Obi Toppin, Quentin Grimes, Emmanuel Quickley, Cam Reddish, Jericho Sims, Miles McBride. We know Tibbs doesn't like to play young guys, tons of minutes. Will he finally play them this year? And I'm going to ask the second part of that question. Which one of those guys out of Toppin, Grimes, Quickley, Reddish, Sims, and McBride is your favorite to kind of have a breakout season?
Okay. Will Tibbs finally play the young guys more? I think he'll play them. I think he will play them more. I don't know how much more, but I think there's going to be some pressure from the top coming down. Hey, we got to get these guys in there. Let's see what they've got. Of these guys, honestly, I love this list here, because I'm going to tell you right now what this starting lineup should be. Quigley at the 1. I would put Cam Reddish at the 2, RJ at the 3, Toppin at the 4, and Mitchell Robinson would be my 5. I like Quentin Grimes should be the 6th man, 3-and-D, can shoot the ball, busts his ass, plays really hard. We saw it in college with the improvement he made at U of H. And I believe, didn't he come from he transferred to U of H, right? Was he a transfer? I thought he was a transfer.
I think so, yeah, he was.
What was it? Did he come from? I don't know why St. John's is popping in my head. I could be wrong.
I don't think it's St. John's.
I don't know why that was popping in my head. So I was a player who transferred from St. John, but I love Quentin Grimes and his mentality and his work ethic. He should be the 6th man. But and I really like Obi Toppin. Kansas, that's right. And Obi Toppin, I really like athleticism. He gets after it. You can tell he plays hard, and he's got the emotions. I hope Tibbs finally figures it out. That's what I would do. It's Thibodeau, though, so I'm not going to place any bets on it. Now, if you want my breakout, of those guys, the way that Tibbs will probably use them, I would say Grimes is probably the most likely to have a breakout, because he'll probably get the most minutes.
Same. Yep.
Yeah. The one with the most potential is easily Cam Reddish, though.
Yeah, he just can't get on the court for whatever reason with Tibbs.
And he should be playing in New York. He should be.
You would
starting.
think Fournier is still stuck starting, and he's already kind of said.
And you saw what Tibbs said.
Yep. Right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Between Grimes and Fournier. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Unfortunately.
Yeah.
All right, Gonzo. Last question, so we'll wrap up. Is there any way possible that the Knicks can make it in the top 6 and avoid the play-in?
Yeah, if hell freezes over. The only way.
All right, so if they're struggling, they don't meet expectations to start the year, do you go ahead and just pivot and play the young guys and go from there? Or are you going to kind of go the Tibbs route and say, let's stay nostalgic and see what Derrick Rose can do at point guard and all that stuff?
No, you tank and sell whatever you can. Whatever you got, whatever you're trying to get rid of, put it on the clearance rack, get it out of there, and start the rebuild ASAP.
Nice. Yeah, I don't see how the Knicks could be happy about their offseason, to be honest, because you're not better. Like, you're better than Charlotte, possibly.
And Brunson's a nice player. He's a good player, but he doesn't move the needle.
Right.
This is how I feel. There's no need of putting Pirelli tires on an 88 Chevy. Just no reason. There we go.
Well, I think that's a good way for us to close out this show. Everybody, please, if you're watching the YouTube version, make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you're hitting the subscribe button. If you're listening to us on any of the audio platforms such as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, anything where you get your audio podcast from, make sure you're subscribed there as well. We're also on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, so make sure you're subscribed on each of those as well. We will be back again with another NBA division preview. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. We are Loop City, and we're out.